Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Conversations in the Future of Work. I am your host, Rachel Cossar, and I am thrilled to welcome our next guest on the show. So, Fei Wu. Fei Wu, welcome. I would love to just hand the torch over to you if you want to say a few words about yourself, your background, and what it is that you're most excited about in the future of work today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Rachel. That's the first thing I want to say for content creators collaborating with other content creators. So, first of all, I'm a creator. I primarily publish on YouTube and LinkedIn, and I love working with businesses, specifically creators and small business owners. I know we're going to target a lot of topics around these two cohorts. And right now, I focus on content creation, collaboration with AI companies, as well as leveraging AI strategies to work with small business owners. And you can just tell that I get so much energy from talking about it, from working with them together. And that's what I do. And a lot of my work can be found under faceworld.com. And I'm Chinese, so spell my name Feisworld.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. I
Thank you.
have loved following your work on LinkedIn, and so it's certainly an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Rachel. Can't wait to get started.
Yeah. So speaking of, one of the things that I really wanted to get into with you is, AI has come on the scene. It's big. It's fresh feeling. Like everyone's got an opinion. But in terms of like what it actually is and what it can actually do for us, I feel like there are lots of misconceptions. So I would love to hear from you. If not, what is the biggest? Like, what are some of the main misconceptions you see when it comes to AI?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing, and I've been talking about this a lot, is that AI cannot replace a lot of what we do. It can certainly assist us and help us maybe ideate and draft ideas a little bit more easily. But right now, I think the misconception with creators and small business owners is that they have the expectations to say, okay, I finally allowed you in. I'm very open-minded. Let's play with AI. Let's explore. But it doesn't do everything. It doesn't complete the workflow or whatever you're working on. And then people tend to give up on AI solutions very easily as a result of this. And I think that is the number one misconception. It cannot do everything for you. So the real solution to this, which we can cover a little bit later, is how do you integrate? How do you truly integrate AI into your everyday work?
Yeah, and that's a big part of why I wanted to call this episode, expectation versus reality, right? And if maybe you could talk a little bit more specifically about that in terms of, there still requires a human in the loop in like a pretty critical way,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely. And what I want to say about that, so for instance, we can use examples. We're both creators and we're using AI tools as we speak, for instance, like this recording studio. And micro content creation as well as content repurposing is a very hot topic right now. I know this because I've been writing a lot about these tools. I can watch Ahrefs and Google Search Console to see what people are searching for. And I want to target my content specific to them. And the truth is, content creation is not really an easy task, especially when you decide that you want to be a professional. So when it comes to micro content, we slice and dice a long form content into these smaller pieces.
Mm.
And chances are they're probably not perfect. When it's generated by AI, specifically things like, topic, keyword driven, all of these clips, and even their tools such as Munch is going to give you relevance scores, SEO scores on top of that. But I strongly believe that for you as a creator, you have a say in this. There is such thing as a gut feeling, as your intuition to decide the clips that are relevant for your audience. It's not just what's hot and popular on the market right now. So I'm going to pause there to see if you have any reactions.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think in my experience and the way that I leverage AI for the content piece in particular, I think it's super helpful. And so, I mean, I save so much time. I wouldn't, to be
Mm,
honest, I would not be doing this talk show if it wasn't for the AI features that make it so much more convenient. But nothing goes out to the public without first like a pretty fine comb through the summaries that we're developing, the words that we're using, because it can often
mm,
end up there's almost like always like one word or like one sentence that you're like, I wouldn't say that. And like, I think people know.
People really notice. I'm really impressed by the content you have really published out there, one with Rosemary Ravenel, for instance. And there's a lot of intricacies to the work that you do. And I'm on your newsletter, I follow your work. Very grown up, right? So my question back to you is, for instance, when you share one of the micro content or snippets out
Mhm.
on, say, LinkedIn, do you use AI tools to generate social copy, or how do you create your copy? I'm curious.
Yeah. So if I'm doing just like a general like LinkedIn
Mhm,
post or social media post, I'll just do that myself. Um, but I do work with, here's where the AI really comes in handy is I have an assistant and she's phenomenal. But I ask a lot of her and I ask a lot of her in terms of like create a summary of this
mhm,
session, tell us about this excerpt or recap or a tiny little piece of information that I'd like to share.
mhm,
And AI really helps her get to some kind of foundation based on the content that like I myself have already approved. And so for
mhm,
her, and I know we're already getting into the second question here, so I'll move forward, but for her it's really helpful to have AI support her with like here's something that you can start with,
mhm.
and then it gets sent over to, so she doesn't have to create anything from scratch. And I think, especially because she's still finding her footing in terms of my voice and the voice of the company, it's really helpful to develop that together. And AI is kind of like that bridge.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful? Because otherwise, it's going to take her a long time to put something together, to summarize, to listen, to engage with the content.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving forward to this next question, which I think really gets to some of these concrete takeaways, but what advice do you give small business owners and content creators when it comes to incorporating AI and video into their workflows?
I love this question because both you and I are very keen on video content, to not to our surprise, because video as a medium is still the most popular engagement tool for any creator, any small business. All of you can check out HubSpot's annual report, and it's like fourth or seventh year in a row. And
Mhm.
so video, whether it's long form or short form or live stream, they're very engaging. And so I think all of us, number one, should be working with this medium. Now, AI has played a huge part in the past year or so. We started exploring here at Face World, we started exploring AI tools for videos before the big launch of ChatGPT. So we knew a thing or two. Number one, to understand what AI can do. It can literally help you ideate, even script your videos these days. It can help you edit your video, as well as publishing your video, following keywords and themes and SEO. And it can help you analyze based on the, deepen analytics of what works, what resonates, so forth and so on. So
Mhm.
there's a lot that it can do. Now, the question, if there's a piece of advice in terms of what you want to start with, I think ideation and script, rough draft, like what you just said, Rachel, that is a really safe place to start with, because very easily you're going to look at the script, the outline, what we call like the hook outline
Mhm.
as well. You have your hook, you have your intro, content, call to action. So once you give AI a format, even the Chat GPT, these are the things I want to fill in. Here is a video idea that I have in mind, or three ideas I have in mind. It's going to give you the draft. That's really going to, help, especially business owners who are so new to video, to break the ice. I see too
Yeah.
many people stand, sort of staring into the ether, like the blank screen, to say video isn't for me. So I think
Mhm.
that's going to be really, really good. Another tip I learned recently is that also AI can help you focus your eyes. So right now I'm looking to the camera, not so much into Rachel, because this is the way I'm used to. Now, if this is a heavily scripted interview, things like that, it happens, or you're trying to record your YouTube video, you might have to look at the screen a bit.
Mhm.
And for that reason, AI can actually dial up and make sure your eyes are looking into the camera when you're not actually doing that. It's
Yep.
pretty trippy and interesting.
Yeah. So to your first point, I think AI can be really powerful in helping you break the ice, as you said. I think I'd be
Mhm.
curious, like, do you have, like, if someone was like, oh, like that's actually a good idea. I have this post coming out. I'd like to include a video. Like, what would be a good prompt that they
Mhm.
could use to kind of get going?
Absolutely. I think there are several tools that you can consider, but we can start with the one that everybody has access to, which is ChatGPT. I believe even the version ChatGPT 4 is available for free now, data up to 2022. And I'm currently on the paid version of
Yep.
ChatGPT 4. So prompts, by the way, quick word on that. When it was first launched in November 2022, we had to really learn how to do this. There always seems a better way or a best way to enter your prompt. These days, prompt engineering itself, it's allowing us to freestyle and you still get a
Mhm,
lot of what you need. So
mhm.
if you want to test out a very simple prompt in ChatGPT, you can build on that. First of all is,
Yeah.
hey, could you, right? Like, for instance, I am a content creator who loves writing about AI. Could you give me 3 video ideas? And
Mhm.
literally it's going to give you 3 of them. If you don't like them, you can regenerate. And
Yep.
from here, you can say that, okay, I want to follow a format of, hook, intro, content, call to action as a format. Could you please help me script the first video for the first idea?
Yeah.
Boom, it's right there. And can you refine it further? You can say, I want to record a 5-minute video. And guess
Yeah.
what? The script is going to rejigger and either be longer or shorter based on the
Yeah.
previous version.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that iterative process is key because I think sometimes, as you said earlier, right, if you come out of the gates, you put in your prompt and you get something back and you're like, oh wow, this is like totally, it's like not really usable.
Mhm,
But right, that's okay. Like,
mhm,
refine it, refine your question, say, okay, now make it more in this tone or that tone, or make it shorter or whatever. You can really kind of iterate that way, and it's powerful. I saw we had another guest on the podcast in the first season of this show, Roberto Ferraro, who shared with me, wow, one of the most
mhm,
involved like prompts for ChatGPT that he used for his blog when he wanted to take this episode and publish it in his in his own words, in his own format. And that was like the most sophisticated prompt structure I'd ever seen. But it was like, it really showed me how
mhm.
you can go deep with these tools
Yeah.
if that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to add one more thing is
Yeah.
that, a lot of brands, a lot of small business owners, like you said, you have a very specific tone or voice you want to project forward because the last thing you want to get is a script or a blog post that they do not sound like you at all. So, a trick you can do, especially for people who already create and write, you can feed your entire article, let's just say 500 words, and sometimes there's a word limit, character limit, of course. You can feed a piece of your writing into ChatGPT and say, could you please analyze the
Mhm.
style of my writing? You can do that with other tools as well, such as
Mhm.
Claude, of course. And it's going to give you a pretty detailed analysis. Now you can then feed in your video topic to say, hey, I want to create a video about 50 best AI tools or 15. That's if that's too aggressive. You can say, could you please script it like the way I write,
Yeah.
like from the previous style? So I actually really like that approach, like iterative approach, because I know a lot of engineers tend to give you a really intricate, detailed prompt, and you're afraid to even make a mistake.
Mm,
You're just like, "Am I coding something?" It's
yeah.
very rigid. But what you can do is you can actually build on top of that, as if you're having a conversation with ChatGPT. That
Yeah.
can feel, I think just a lot more fluid and easier to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great point. Um, awesome. And one other thing I was just going to say to your second point about using the one thing that I like to just say needs to be I think we need to tread carefully with AI in this sense is
Mhm,
how we use AI for any kind of deep faking purposes.
mhm,
Eye gaze redirect, at least from what I've seen, is tricky because so much of what makes us personable and helps us connect with people is the way that we use our eyes. And I would
mhm,
almost say, like, spend a little more time memorizing your script instead of using something to redirect your
mhm,
eye gaze. Because what I've found is that the eye gaze redirect features leave out some of the more intentional moments where you actually do want to kind of just reference something on your page or break that eye contact for a moment. I don't
mhm.
know what if you've felt that too, but I know lots of other speaker coaches are like, it like you said, it's a little creepy, and I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, very much so. I know Descript already came
Yeah.
out with iGaze, I think 6 months ago, and now there are other tools in case people are interested in checking out. Hey Jen is the one that I'm exploring. Synthesia, probably Synthesia, months ago didn't really have a character you can build on your own. Now they probably do. And Hey Jen is literally me sitting here talking for a couple of minutes. Now you can create infinite number of videos with
Crazy.
me. So I agree with you, especially with your line of work. I since the very beginning, 2019, there's certain things I crave and that I enjoy being a YouTuber by looking away, by making mistakes. And
Yeah.
now when I see someone making a mistake, whether it's writing or videos, I feel I don't know. I just feel a sense of connection almost instantly because
Yeah.
I'm almost allergic to a degree when I see a full blog post that's completely generated by ChatGPT.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can tell right away, and I don't want to read it.
Totally.
So now I definitely love that the human element. I really appreciate it so much more than I did even before.
Yeah, totally. I love that point. So moving on, like, what are you most excited about when it comes to AI and the future of work, the future of content creation?
Yeah, I think I'm living in the space of MarTech, marketing tech in general, and content
Mhm.
creation, and I'm super excited about all of this. I feel so privileged because Gen AI or generative AI is certainly one of the pioneers or people have most access to when it comes to AI. But with that said, I'm actually secretly really interested in learning more from different industries as well. So I have friends, for instance, working in finance, working in healthcare, working
Mhm.
in health insurance, of all places. And they say when it comes to insurance claims, usually it takes a long time. I think we living in the US here, we all resonate with that. But now with AI, there's certain companies implementing with AI solutions that allows the majority of the more trivial, straightforward insurance claims to be processed easily. And there are always going to be edge cases where human are stepping in to really deal with these more intricate and more sophisticated cases. As a result, my friends, people working in the industry in general, they're happier because they know that their time is spent on more important things. So that's one observation. I also have friends working in education, working with young
Yeah.
kids, as well as underprivileged population. So as educators, instead of saying, well, I don't want to, some educators may be pushing AI away, or they may be thinking like, our students are using AI to write articles, essays, this is the end of the world. Whereas my friend Steven, for instance, like who's learning and pioneering AI to come up with different assignments for different kids. And it was really, really interesting to watch him work. And I just want to give a shout out to people in these industries who are like teaching me so much about the future of work.
Totally. And I love the, especially in academia, like, I understand that the advent of AI can be very scary, and you think of cheating and plagiarism and all that, and of course that's very warranted, but I agree with you. Like, you can really lean in and you can help students understand how to incorporate these tools in a way that is still authentic, that allows them to critically think about things and, go to primary sources. Like, where did that piece of information come from? Is it even true? Like, that's like a very valuable exercise, even when you just read the news, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. You brought up a point which I, forgot to mention at the very beginning is that, AI is not human. It doesn't process emotions. And another misconception, like you actually called out, is not all the information is accurate. We
Yeah.
know that. But on top of that, it's totally not like completely unbiased either.
Mm.
So I think we as human beings, number one, to validate and verify the information we get and providing feedback, for Google, for Microsoft, for OpenAI to say, this answer isn't helpful or it's inaccurate and how to make it better. And that act can actually go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And to wrap up, I know we've touched on some of these already, but just to provide a nice little wrapper around it, like, what does, in your opinion, AI actually do to move the needle for small business owners, content creators?
For content creators or for small business, what we call the content based businesses, which is primarily the business I work with, they have saved so much time
Mhm.
and money, and even stepping into the type of content they didn't think was possible to create. Videos being one of them, micro content being one of them, was so expensive, just resource wise, it was draining for them. Now I'm seeing so much these micro content with captions, music, emojis are popping up left and right. So people are experimenting a lot more. I
Mhm.
also think, like what we talked about earlier, how do you really integrate this? So don't try AI for a day or two for a few weeks, or You don't have to be the secret agent within your organization trying to try it and test it out. Instead, I think inviting or creating a cohort of people, like-minded people who are curious and maybe can explore AI together with you, especially if you're a leader. You could be a small business owner and run a business of 5 people. But I think it's important for you as a leader to stand up, acknowledge the process, and to be involved. I don't think AI requires the person to be leading the change, to be necessarily the smartest, to be a prompt engineer, data scientist, anything like that. I think it's just someone who is willing to create a comfortable environment, a trusting environment for people to explore, to make mistakes, to move on. And ideally, the last thing I will say is anybody who did not work in program or product management, I have for 10 years, is that start encouraging there to be a process and workflows to be designed with a whiteboard, with a Miro, whatever your tool of choice is, but start documenting what you're doing and then refine it and create a very iterative process.
That's so helpful to hear. I think the invitation is really there for people, right? Like these tools have been made pretty beautifully accessible in the sense that it's, you can go and play around with almost anything. And I think to your point, Faye, if you can build a little bit of a cohort or network or community around that, it can maybe feel a little less daunting because you can explore together instead of just kind of you and the machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And also sometimes it's true that within your organization, you may not find the perfect person or people may not say, "Hey, I want to do this." So thanks to Zoom and, the virtual reality that we live in, so you can actually reach out to other people, join these networks, even Facebook groups. I'm not I still have trouble navigating Discord and learning
Yeah.
slowly, but you can find a community. You can find a couple of people who are interested in
Mhm.
what you're doing. Like I am doing all my mastermind are all over the US and partly worldwide at the moment. So that's super helpful. Don't just look by proximity. Find people we can learn with you.
Love that. Awesome. Well, Faye, thank you so much for joining us. For our audience, what is the best way that they can grab onto more of what you're saying and follow your work?
Great. Thank you so much, Rachel, again for the interview. I really appreciate your time and expertise. To connect with me and find my work, you can go to feisworld.com. So that is FEISWORLD. And on the homepage, you will find that there is a free masterclass I developed and it's called Full Stack Content Marketing with AI. So you're thinking about just content strategy, or you want to start implementing AI with it. I think that would be a really good one to look into.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much. And always happy to talk more about this stuff. I think it's fascinating.
Awesome. Likewise, Rachel.
Great.